Good afternoon, Mount Tabor homerooms. It's me, Miss Hillary again, one of your Mount Tabor counselors. Every moment is a moment closer to winter break, so I'm excited to be here with you on this Tuesday before break. We're going to be talking about reflecting on the past year of 2020 and looking forward to 2021. Oh, let's go to the next slide. There we go. Our agenda and objectives for the day. By the end of this homeroom, we'll be able to identify some small wins and great successes from 2020, identify what we each individually might want to leave behind from this year, and set some goals for 2021. There we go. First, what a year! So as our opening activity, I would love for you to think for a moment, how would you describe the past year, the year of 2020, in one word? And we're going to make a word cloud of all of our single words that we use to describe 2020. So I'm going to have your teacher pause this video now and give you the link for the word cloud so you can see what is everyone choosing as their one word for 2020. I think it'll be interesting. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. And I wonder how many of you chose the same word or how different everyone's words ended up being. Curious. Why would we spend time reflecting? Great question. So spending some time reflecting lets our brains take a brief pause from the busyness of our lives and all of the chaos that can ensue throughout our days. And the pause can let us sort through some of the experiences that we've had and any observations that we make and start to make meaning out of all of those experiences and observations. So making meaning allows us to learn and grow from both any mistakes that we may have made or any successes that we've had in our lives. Also, reflecting on our successes and what's gone well makes us feel good. It's nice to remember the times that we've had big and small wins, especially when in a year when things have been kind of difficult, kind of stressful, and a little hard. So spending time reflecting lets us remember those successes and learn from any mistakes. Congrats. We all have overcome a ton of stuff this year. It's been a wild year, unlike any that I can remember. And it's also let us see how resilient we are. And I know you all remember that resilient means we can do hard things. We've all done hard things this year and overcome things that we may have never thought would ever happen. So I'd love if you're homeroom teacher could pause the video here so you can all think about what were some of your successes, both big and small. And these can be whatever you want to make of that, but maybe you learned a new skill like how to draw cartoons, or you read more books, or any large successes. So what have you overcome to have big or small successes? Thanks for sharing, everyone. I hate when the slides don't go. Another thing that is helpful to reflect on when you're coming to the start of a new year or in some sort of transition like that is, what would you like to leave behind? So the start of a new year, like coming into 2021, can be a great time to think about what things within our control we'd like to work to leave behind so we can continue to grow. And I'm certain that there are things that we'd all like to leave behind that aren't really within our control. And those can be great to reflect on as well. But when we're thinking about like how we want to make changes in our own life, it is helpful to think about specifically the things within our control that we'd like to leave behind. An example that comes to mind for me and myself is that I feel as though I didn't get away from the screen enough, especially towards the end of the year. So that is something I would like to leave behind, and so I can think about incorporating more breaks away from the screen into my daily life in 2021. Even though we'll still be on the screen a lot, how can I incorporate more breaks and leave behind the way too much screen time? So as an exercise in thinking about what you'd like to leave behind from 2020, hopefully primarily things within your control, we're going to do a Padlet, and it's called the Garden of Life reflection. So the 3 columns or areas that you're going to talk about in the Padlet are your flowers, weeds, and fertilizer. Flowers are going to be what things did you love about this last year? Like things that went well or any positive experiences you've had in the past year, the year 2020. And then the next section is the weeds. What do you want to move on without? What would you like to leave out for next year? And it is helpful if these are things in your control, but whatever. And then the final one is fertilizer. So what will you add or improve in 2021? Like what are some things that you'd like to add or just improve upon next year? So I'm going to have your teacher pause the video here and give you the link for that Padlet so you can think about your flowers, weeds, and fertilizer and reflect on those. Very nice. Thank you, everyone. I'm sure all of your reflections were so thoughtful, and I can't wait to look through them shortly. And then we'll start looking forward to 2021. We're moving forward. We reflected some on 2020. I do encourage you. I find reflection to be quite helpful, especially like writing down. So if you have time to spend a little bit of that time journaling and reflecting on your past year, it might be a nice exercise. But now it's time to look forward to next year. And as part of that process, I am going to ask you to think for a moment and then either unmute yourself and share with your class, type in the chat, or you can write down for your own notes what is a goal you have for next year. And we're going to spend more time talking about goal setting in homeroom after winter break, but just to sort of get your juices flowing on setting goals and setting intentions for as you're starting a new year, what's a goal you have? And I know we've done SMART goals before, but I am just going to remind you that it can be very helpful in achieving your goals if your goals are as specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound as possible. So when you're thinking about just getting your juices flowing on some goals for next year, keep the SMART acronym in mind for your own success. So let's pause here and talk about goals for 2021. Wow. Great goals, everyone. I know I'm not in any of your homerooms live right now, but I know that you all have great ideas for how you want your 2021 year to look and what goals you're looking to achieve. So as a closing quote before one last question I have for you, this was a quote I found from a woman named Tricia Hersey from an organization called the Nap Ministry. But I would love for you to think about this as you go into your winter break after a wild year and beginning of the school year here. So what can you fall back on in these last few weeks of pandemic year? Where can you find slowness and space to just be? How can you finish 2020 not exhausted? So you'll have a couple weeks to hopefully find slowness and space to just be and close out 2020 not exhausted is my hope for you. And then come into 2021 rested and ready to take on the year. And that's pretty much it, everyone. Thanks for coming to homeroom today. I do have one closing question because I'm interested. I would love for you to think for a moment and then unmute or share in the chat. What song would you pick to be the anthem of or soundtrack of the year 2020? So what song do you think fits the year 2020? And I hope to hear some of your ideas later. Thanks, everyone.